Hey everyone, welcome back to the homestead. Today I am out in the garden and we are planting tomatoes. The first tomatoes I'm going to be planting today are black plum tomatoes. I really like these for making spaghetti sauce. I mix it with San Marzano tomatoes, which we'll also be planting today. And Italian heirlooms, which I like to use for slicing. I will do diced and crushed tomatoes with these, and I will also can the tomato juice from these as well, as they're more watery tomato, whereas the black plum and the San Marzano are a more meaty tomato. They're, I do believe, classified as paste tomatoes because they're more meaty. They're good for sauces and pastes and things like that. All three of these varieties I planted last year and I absolutely loved them. They had massive production. The fruit was great and they really made some nice tomato byproducts for me. So that is what I'm focusing on this year, is those three varieties. And then I have a couple different cherry varieties too for eating and salads and things like that. But for the most part, I'm focusing on tomato byproducts that I can and that I use a lot of. We use a ton of spaghetti sauce. We love salsa. I do diced tomatoes in a lot of my meals. And so it's just something that our family uses a lot of, and so it makes sense for me to grow a lot of it so I can can a lot of it. So yeah, that's what I'm going to be focusing on today. And I wanted to share with you guys again this year what I used last year, and that is a trick that I learned from Jess on Roots and Refuge. She is absolutely wonderful. I love learning gardening skills from her, so go ahead and check her out. I will leave a link in the description below to her channel. Highly recommend her. She's amazing. But anyway, she learned from somebody in her past, or that she knew, that you put an egg in the hole when you plant your tomato. And so I did that last year and my tomatoes did amazing. I didn't have any blossom end rot. I didn't have any blight. I didn't have any issues with my tomatoes at all. And so I'm going to be doing that again this year. And I have chickens, so I have a ton of eggs. So I just grabbed, 2 dozen of my oldest eggs in the fridge, and we're just going to put them in the hole with the tomatoes. I do like to crack it a little bit just to help the decomposing speed up a little bit, and it allows the roots to get into the egg. But eggs have tons of calcium, lots of nutrients, and the tomatoes apparently love them. So yeah, so I'm gonna go ahead and get you guys on a tripod and get started planting these tomatoes. Let's go. Oh, one more thing before I get started here. Another thing that I do with my tomatoes is plant them very, very deep. So when you look at a tomato, let me show you here. So when you look at a tomato, it has all of these little fuzzy things that grow along the side of the stem. Now every single one of these, it's hard to see here, there we go. All of these little fuzzy things that you see along the stem are potential roots. So in a natural situation, a tomato will grow along the ground, kind of like a pumpkin vine or watermelon or cantaloupe or things like that. And so it's going to send out roots anywhere that it touches the ground. And so that's where those little fuzzy potential roots come in handy for a tomato. However, in a gardening situation, most people provide a trellis or tie up their tomatoes in some way, shape, and form. And so they're not getting, the added roots on the ground because they're growing vertically instead of horizontally along the ground. And so another thing that I like to do is I plant them really, really deep. So let me show you on the tomato. So when I plant, let's say this tomato here, I'm gonna remove the bottom leaves. So these two leaves here, this one and this one, I'm gonna remove that and plant it as deep, probably as deep as I can in my garden bed. And that will provide this plant all of this space to grow strong roots. And this is going to help the plant, one, have lots of stability being planted in the ground. It's going to grow roots out at every location that it can in the ground. So burying it deep helps with just stability. And two, it's going to help this plant absorb absolutely every nutrient that it possibly can and help it grow very strong and very healthy. So we're going to put an egg in the hole and we're going to bury it or plant it very, very deep in our garden beds. And this is going to provide extra nutrients and lots of roots. So we're going to have healthy tomatoes. Now let's go ahead and get started. all of the tomatoes planted. I am super excited to be getting green things in the ground. Let me show you kind of how everything turned out and tell you what's coming up next. So these are the black plum. I've got the San Marzanos over here, and the Italian heirlooms are up front. And then I did plant an orange cherry tomato and a red cherry tomato over here. I planted a few currant tomatoes, so the really little itty bitty ones over by the chickens, because they were such big producers last year and my chickens absolutely loved them. So I figured I would grow a few for them, but we ended up not using them so much because they were so small. So I picked out some regular cherry tomatoes for salads and just eating, and I figured I would grow the currant tomatoes for the chickens, and that way they would have a snack. So those are over by the chicken run. But these are all of the tomatoes for inside the garden. Like I said, I am super, super excited to have green things growing or going in the garden, and I cannot wait to see how it fills out. Now there's a couple things that I need to do now that the tomatoes are planted. They do need a trellis or a support system of some sort. I tried the California weave last year and I either used the wrong rope or my plants were just too big, or it whatever the reason, it just didn't work. So I don't think I'll be doing that this year, but I do have some ideas that I need to kind of sketch out and then get those underway, because a lot of these tomatoes already need some sort of support system, because we don't want them just laying on the ground. They'll start growing roots or they'll rot out, or who knows. But anyway, that is the video for today. Thank you guys for joining me in my garden and getting the tomatoes planted today. If you guys have any questions about growing tomatoes, planting tomatoes, or just gardening in general, go ahead and leave them in the comments below. I'm happy to help however I can. And I'm always happy to hear from you guys. If you like my content, go ahead and give it a like on the way out and hit that subscribe button. It really helps out the channel, and it lets you guys know when new content is up on the channel. Thank you guys so much for watching, and remember to grow where you're planted.